So for this video, we're going to be talking about how to solve equations with variables on both sides of the equation. And we're basically following the same rules that we have been. We're going to just add a couple little teeny tiny things in there. So one, simplify each side of the equation just like we've been doing and use the distributive property as needed. All right, two, we get the variables to one side of the equation. So that's a new thing that we're going to be talking about today. Three, get the variable alone. Use SAD MEP. And then four, always keep the equation balanced, okay? Whatever you do to one side, you must do the other. So let's just go right straight into it. So we have, I'll pick out a couple here. Let's do this one. We'll start off simple. We'll go with one. We have x plus 16 equals 9x. So the first thing, look at each side. Can I simplify x plus 16? No, this is as simplified as it can get. Can I do anything with simplifying 9x? No, I cannot. Now here's the problem. I have to get the variable on one side. Notice I have one here and one here. Well, my job is to move it, and I have to move the entire variable. So I can I'm gonna have to move this whole thing x, but this isn't just x, it's technically a 1x, all right? And here's what you have to do. In order to move the whole thing, you have to ask yourself, what is it doing? Well, first off, look at it. This is a positive 1x. So just like we've done some numbers before, in order to move this positive 1x to the other side, I need to subtract 1x on both sides. All right, basically I'm kind of following SAD MEP again, but this time I'm moving an entire variable and its coefficient. So when I do 1x minus 1x, that cancels out and that leaves me with 16. Equals, well, what's 9x minus 1x? Well, it's simply 8x, okay? Because we know 9 minus 1 is 8. Now we can continue doing SAD MEP. Again, we know there's no more addition here, there's no more subtraction. Now we're looking at multiplication and division. How do I get rid of an 8 times x? Well, since I know that this is multiplying, I'm going to do the opposite and divide on both sides. That gives me 2 is equal to x. Very simple. All right, so now let's go into 3. All right, so I have 5 times p plus 6 equals 8p. Looks complicated, follow your steps. 1, look at each side first. Can I simplify this? Yes, I can. I can use the distributive property. And I can say 5 times p is 5p, and 5 times 6 is a positive 30, equals 8p. All right, now I need to get my variables on one side of the equation. I'm just going to happen to move this 5p, okay? So let's get this over here by itself. So since I know this is a positive 5p, I use SAD MEP again, get rid of it, do the opposite, and I subtract 5p from both sides because that's my step right now, getting a variable to one side. And that leaves me with 30 on this side, and this becomes 3p. Now it's very simple. What do I do now? I'm getting p by itself. I'm solving using SAD MEP. In this case, to get rid of a 3 here, which is multiplication, I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides, and I get 10 is equal to p. All right. Now, let's look at number 5. All right, number 5. Same concept. Don't overthink it. Follow the same rules. Look at one side first and let's concentrate. Can I simplify 1.8 plus 7n? No, I cannot. There's nothing I can do with this guy. Well, let's look at the next one. Can I simplify 9.5 minus 4n? No, I cannot. There's nothing I can do. So now my job is to get the variable to one side. Well, what do we want to move? Well, it doesn't really matter. I can either move the 7 or the 4. In this case, I'm just going to move the 7 in. So notice that I'm wanting to move this whole thing. I want to move the variable and its coefficient. How do I do that? I am going to subtract an entire 7n on both sides. When I do, that gives me 1.8 is equal to 9.5, and then I have a minus 4n and a minus 7. Well, I could do a little bit of scrap work over here. minus 4 minus 7. Well, I can rewrite that by keep, change by negative 4 plus a negative 7. That gives me negative 11. So this is a negative 11n. So I have 1.8 equals 9.5 minus 11n. Well, what's my job now? I'm using SADMEP, okay? I can't do anything else to this side, but I can use SADMEP over here, and I notice that this is a positive 9.5. How do I get rid of it? I get rid of it by subtraction, okay? So I'm gonna subtract 9.5 on both sides, all right? So this cancels out, and this side gives me a negative 11n, but what does this give me? Well, we can kind of follow our rules of rational numbers. I know that since this negative 9.5 has the highest absolute value, my answer is going to be a negative right here, and then I can just simply do some subtraction over on the side. 9.5 minus 1.8. Well, I have an 8 here. Borrow to make that 15, so 15 minus 8 is 7. 8 minus 1 is 7. So this right here would be 7.7. All right, and not just a 7.7, but negative 7.7. What's my job now? Well, I'm still doing SADMEP, and I got to get that n by itself. How do I do that? I divide by 11 on both sides, and what that gives me is 0, not just any 0, but a positive 0.7 equals n. And don't believe me, we can use a little calculator just to help ourselves out. Clear this out, negative 7.7 divide by negative 11, and I get 0.7 is n. All right, so I want you to try 2, 4, and 6 on your own and see how you did, and then I'm actually going to walk you through each one for this video. So try 4 and 6 on your own, and then I'm going to walk you through each one. So for number 2, same concept. Can I simplify this side? Is there anything I can do with this side? No. How about this side? No. So my job is to get the variables on one side. I want to get rid of this 4y. Why do I want to get rid of this 4y? I don't know. I just don't like it. Could I move the 12y instead? Yes, I can, but I don't want to. I want to move the 4y. Why? I don't know. I just don't like the guy. So I'm going to move this guy instead. And how do I move this whole 4y? I'm going to do its opposite. Since this is a positive, I do a minus 4y on both sides. 4y cancels out, and this leaves me with negative 70 is equal to 12y minus 4y gives me 8y plus 2. Well, I can't do anything else to simplify, so I'm going to continue trying to, I've moved all the variables to one side. Now I'm going to try to get the variable alone by using SADMEP. Well, I can get rid of this plus 2 because that's an addition. I get rid of it by doing its opposite, which is subtract 2 on both sides. That cancels out. I have a negative 70 minus 2 will give me a negative 72 equals 8y. So the next thing about SADMEP is looking for division or multiplication. In this case, I have multiplication, so I have to get rid of it by dividing by 8. And when I do, I get that negative 9 is equal to y. All right, next one. First off, can I simplify this side? Yes, I can, so let's do that. I'm going to use distributive property. 3 times g gives me 3g. 3 times a negative 7 gives me a negative 21. Can I simplify this side? Yes, I can, using the distributive property. 2 times 10 gives me 20. 2 times g gives me a plus 2g. All right, what can I do now? I need to move the variable to one side of the equation, so let's do that. I don't want this 3g over here. Why? I don't know. I just want to move it. And since it's a positive, I'm going to do the opposite and subtract 3g on both sides. That gives me negative 21 is equal to 20 minus 1g, okay? Because that cancels out. So now I continue to get this variable by itself using SADMEP. So I have a 20 here. I can't do anything with this yet, but I can get rid of this 20 by subtracting it on both sides. When I do, I'm going to have to write some work, bring my work over here now. I'm running out of room. When I do, I have negative 41 equals negative 1g. So what's my next step? Notice I have a negative 1 here times g, so I need to divide by negative 1 on both sides. It's important to realize that this is a negative 1 because of this minus sign right here. And when I do, I get 41 is equal to g. Now, but Mr. Lewis, couldn't you have done it a different way? Yes, I could. A while ago, I decided I wanted to subtract 3g on both sides. What if I wanted to subtract 2g instead? Would I have gotten the same answer? Absolutely. Contrary to popular belief, there are more than one way to solve a math problem, okay, as long as you keep yourself organized. Speaking of, let's look at number 6. All right, can I simplify this side of my equation? No. Can I do anything with this side of the equation? No. So my job is to move the variables to one side. Well, since I'm going to move this variable to over here, and I'm going to do that by subtracting 3/7 w on both sides. That's going to give me negative 11, because this cancels out, is equal to, and I'm going to do a little bit of math over here on the side, and I've got, actually I don't have to do anything this one. I can say negative 4 minus 3 all over 7, because I have negative 4/7 minus 3/7, and they both have the same coefficient, but the same denominator. So I can just do that, and then just simply work this all the way out. And when I do, I'll rewrite over here, I get negative 11 equals negative 7 over positive 7 times w. Can I simplify this? Yes, I can. I actually can simplify this and get negative 11 is equal to negative 1 times w. This may have caught you right here because this is a negative 1 and not a positive 1. In doing so, I can follow my SATMEP again and divide by negative 1, and I get 11 equals w. So this may be something that would have caught you, is this right here, negative 4 minus 3, and when we simplify this little section, would have given us a negative 1w. So be very cautious of that. All right, and as always, I want to actually leave 7 and 8 for you as your challenge problems, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.